Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is Yevamos Daf Nun Zayin. We are holding on Nun Vav Amud Beis, 6 lines from the bottom. Amar Belazar, Amar Ba'ishya. You see, in the Mishnah we learned about an Isha who's awaiting marriage to a Kohen Gadol, but she's an Almana. Or, if she's a Gerusha, awaiting Nisuyin with a Kohen Hedyot, what happens when it comes to Achilas Teruma? Rabbi Meir maintains, look, she's about to get married to a fellow who she may not marry. That's called Mishtameres Labias Avera. She's awaiting. She's about to solidify her relationship with a fellow who she's not meant to marry. Therefore, she's puzzled. She can't have his truma. Even if she's a daughter of a Kohen, her father's a Kohen, she has to stop eating truma because of this relationship with this fellow who's not meant to be marrying her. Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon say, look, it's still pre-marriage. She has not yet been tainted or affected by this man. She's not yet a chalala. It was only erusin, and therefore she's allowed to eat truma. And Rashi explained, we're going with the shita that even during the engagement process, even an arusa may have the truma of her husband, the kohen. The kohen. Here comes a new shaila. Amar Belazar, Amar Ba'ishya, P'tzua Daka. A fellow who was wounded, his reproductive system was wounded, and generally speaking, he may not marry within the community. Lo yavai P'tzua Daka. B'kahal Hashem. He may not marry anybody from the kahal, from the community. So what happens if he happens to be a kohen as well? Patzur Daka. Kohen. Shekidesh Bas Yisrael. He was Mekadesh. He got engaged to a Bas Yisrael. So he's a kohen. She's a Bas Yisrael. She would like to have achilas truma, privileges, from her kohen, from her future husband. Does she get those privileges or not? Bono l'machloikis, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon. This as well will be subject to the same machloikis in the Mishnah between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon. Explains the Gemara. Little Rabbi Meir, according to him, the Amar Mishtameres Labia Psula, the Iraisa Lo Yochla. Just as he says that a Gerusha who is awaiting marriage with a Kohen, which is a Bia Psula, Minat Torah, invalidates her, doesn't allow her to have his truma because she's awaiting that bia psula. Here as well, hanami lo yachla, this isha as well. She's not allowed to marry this kohen petzua daka, so she does not get achilas truma rights. Whereas the Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, the Amri, they hold mishtameres lebia psula deoraisa achla, just as they in the Mishnah will tell us that a gerusha chalutza l'kohen hedit can eat his truma. Right? It's not over till it's over. You haven't married yet. You're not affected yet. Harnami achla, in this case as well. She can have his truma. Says Rashi on the top line, Hanami achla. Why? The kinyan kaspai. And Isha is like kinyan he purchased her, so to speak. He acquired her. She's allowed to eat his truma. V'echelas dvar Torah, min Torah she can have it. V'ad boila. Until they go further in their relationship, and they have physical relations, the shavya chalala achla. Until that point when she becomes a chalala. Until then, she's not yet a chalala, and therefore achla, she can have the truma. So we are suggesting the same achlikas that applies with a grusha and a chalutza attempting to marry a kohen hedyot will apply to the case of a Bas Yisrael attempting to marry a kohen petzua daka. How do you know to compare the two things? Dilma Adkan like Amari, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon Hassa. Maybe it's only over there that they hold that she may have his truma. Ela de yeshloi lahachel b'malkam achar. Keep in mind, a regular kohen who's marrying a grusha, there's nothing inherently wrong with him. He has the ability to feed a regular wife with give her truma. Aval hacha, but in this case of the kohen b'tzur daka, There's something inherently deficient with him. He is incapable of feeding anybody truma. And therefore, loy, perhaps in this case, this Isha does not get truma. How do you know to compare the two things? Maybe in this case it's way worse. Perhaps you'll say, Hachanami here as well, even a P'tzua Daka has the ability to feed. If he marries a daughter of Gerim, so parents were Gerim, they converted, and their daughter is really a Yisraelis, right? But as Rashi explains, a P'tzua Daka may not marry anybody from within Kahal Hashem, the community of Hashem, and a Bas Gerim does not fit that bill. And since he can marry a Bas Gerim, that's a perfectly permissible marriage, he can give her Truma as well if he's a Kohen. So here you go. It's a good comparison. A P'tzua Daka Kohen is really on the same level as a regular Kohen, because even a Kohen P'tzua Daka, in some cases, can feed his wife Truma. And therefore, our equation holds. The same machlikas that we have in the Mishnah by the regular Kohen will apply to the Kohen P'tzua Daka. Right? Says the Gemara, 1 second. That's not so simple. Actually, Rabbi Yehuda asked this very question of Rabbi Yehuda. And he didn't respond to him. This very question, whether a Kohen who's a P'tzua Daka marries a Bas Gerim, can she have his Truma or not? It wasn't simple. It was a question posed to Rabbi Yehuda, who did not have a response. So I can just assume that the answer is positive. Why if so, why are you equating? Why are you comparing a Kohen P'tzua Daka to a regular Kohen? Here, there's no aspect of imachal. He has no ability to feed any Isha Truma. Answers the Gemara, yes. We actually do find some cases. Itmar, Abaya Omar Hoylu Machila Below Yada. Look, here's a simple case where even a Kohen P'tzua Daka can still feed his wife Truma. He married her before he experienced this wound. She's eating his Truma, and then suddenly he was harmed, he was wounded. And it was Lo Yada. From that point onward, he didn't interact with her physically, in which case she's not yet a Chalala. There's nothing wrong with staying married. She's not affected by him if there's no physical contact. And therefore, in that case, she can still have her Truma. Here you go. A Kohen who's a P'tzua Daka feeding his wife Truma. Rav Amar, I'll give you an example. A Kohen P'tzua Daka who owns slaves can feed them. Abaye lo Amar Rava. Why didn't Abaye bring Rava's example of these slaves? Because he says that's not pertaining to our discussion. Kinyan de Ishus. Here we're speaking about a man acquiring a woman in a context of marriage. Kinyan de Ishus Yalfina, we have to derive from another example of Kinyan de Ishus, such as my case where he married her before he became a P'tzua Daka, and we see that he can continue feeding her. That's a good equation, but V'li Yalfina and Kinyan de Ishus, you can't draw a lesson to Kinyan de Ishus, Kinyan de Avodim, from a case where he's just acquiring slaves. That's a different type of acquisition. It's a different context. You can't compare two things. We're looking for an example of a Kohen P'tzua Daka feeding his wife. My example fits that bill. Why didn't Rava cite Abaye's example to show that a P'tzua Daka at times can feed his wife? That's a totally different case. She's already eating. And then he became a P'tzua Daka. Perhaps because of that, she can continue eating. The fact is, the marriage was not initiated with this in mind. It was not with this intent. He was not a P'tzua Daka at the point of marriage. The marriage was perfectly fine. He was perfectly healthy at that point. So perhaps, since she's already in the Achilas Truma mode, the fact that he became a P'tzua Daka doesn't interfere with that zuchus, with that Achilas Truma privilege. So that's not a raya to our shaila. Abaye responds, Sure it is. Shekvar ochla lo yamrinon. The fact that she already ate, past history doesn't affect the future. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. Because otherwise, Bas Yisrael shnisas l'koyin. A regular Bas Yisrael marries a koyin umeis and then he dies. Just because she was eating, she continues eating? Of course not. Teichel? Would you suggest that she should continue eating truma? Shekvar ochla, because she already ate? Of course not. Apparently that's not really a factor at play. Rava responds, of course not. Hasam paka kinyane. Yeah, in the case that he passed away, his kinyan, his bond, is gone. Hachale paka kinyane. Here by the kohen, who turned into a psuodaka while married, he's still around. She's still his wife. And over here I can very well understand that the fact that she was eating his truma allows her to continue eating his truma unless she's affected by him physically, etc. But this is a strong factor, which perhaps contributes to her ability to have his truma. So that's not typical. That's not a good example to prove our point. Rather, I'll prove from the fact that a kohen p'tzodaka who owns avodim and shvachis, he acquires them when already a p'tzodaka. He can feed them truma. So you see that he has that ability. So bottom line is, both Abaye and Rava came up with an exception to the rule. We do find that even a kohen p'tzodaka has the ability to feed truma. And therefore, our equation holds true. Which equation? That we compare that kohen to a regular kohen in the Mishnah who's marrying a grusha. In both cases, the kohen, as far as his ability, is able to feed. And therefore, they're both on equal footing, and the same machlekes we have in the Mishnah. By the grusha v'chalutza awaiting marriage with a kohen hedid. Likewise, we'll have over here with a Bas Yisrael awaiting marriage to a kohen p'tzodaka. Does she have his truma? Does she not? Machlekes tanai. Gufa. Let's for a minute go back and review that shaila that we mentioned. Ba'imene Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Isha. The question was, a p'tzodaka kohen shenasa basger. Typically, a p'tzodaka may not integrate with the kohal, the community. He can't marry in with Klal Yisrael, but he can marry somebody that's not kohal. Who's that? So the question is, a kohen who's a p'tzodaka, who marries a bas gerim. She's a descendant of gerim. Parents are gerim. Mau sheachilena betruma. Is this a proper marriage? Is this marriage kosher? Can this kohen now feed his wife truma? That was the question. Ishtik. V'loi amar le v'loi midi. Rabbi Isha remained silent. He was sort of stumped, didn't respond. Okay. L'saif. A while later, asa gavra Rabbi Achrina. Another great man arrives. Ubay minei milsa achrita. And he asks Rabbi Isha another question. Upashadlei. And he responded to him. Umanai, who was that other person asking the question? Rish Lakish. That was the story. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya. He was actually an Amoira. Rabbi Isha, he turns to Rabbi Isha, he says, What's going on? Atu Rabbi Yechanan lav gavra Rabu? Is Rabbi Yechanan not a great enough man that you didn't take to his question? Why did you ignore him and only pay attention to Rish Lakish's question? Rabbi Isha says, nothing personally. I just didn't have an answer. The kaboy minay milsa de lesla pisri. He asked me a question which has no solution. I'm totally stumped. And therefore, I just remained silent. No, nothing more than that. Now the Gemara will elaborate on this question and explain what the equation is, what the difficulty with this particular case is. Let's break it down. Leman. What do you mean there's no answer to the question? Again, we're speaking about a kohen who is a petzur daka. And the question is, may he marry a bas gerim? Okay, let's break it down. Either Rabbi Yehuda, if we're following Shitas Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that number one, a kohen may not marry a bas ger. That's Rabbi Yehuda Shita elsewhere. This is the sugis and kedushin about it later on. Yevamos. We're sort of drawing some bits and pieces from other sugis, and we're going to put it together in an equation and try to work through this shaila here. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, who holds number one, a kohen may not marry a descendant of gerim. It's not it's not something fitting for a kohen. Okay, so according to Rabbi Yehuda, we understand that as a fact. Number two, we understand that a Betzur Daka, a Yisrael, Betzur Daka, although you would think perhaps a ger is different, no. A ger is like a regular Yisrael, and just like he can't integrate with the Kahal Yisrael, he can't integrate with the gerim either. So he may not marry a ger either. Okay? So not only those two facts, let's try to apply it to our Shaila. You have a kohen who's also a Betzur Daka, would like to marry a geris or a bas ger. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's no question that it's asr, and he can't feed her a truma. Why? Oh, we need another short introduction. Rashi brings the Gemara in Ha'aral, Daf Ayin Vav, that has a shaila. A kohen who is also a Betzur Daka, does he lose kedusha, which enables him to go marry a ger, which he wouldn't otherwise be able to do, right? Or a kohen who is a Betzur Daka still maintains his high level of kedusha, and he may not get involved with any isha who's typically usher to a kohen. There's no difference between a healthy kohen or an unhealthy kohen. And that's a shaila in the Gemara later in Yevamos. So we're not sure how to conclude on that shaila, but says the Gemara, either way, the answer in our case is a resounding no, negative. Why? Either Rabbi Yehuda, are we posing our question? What's the question again? A kohen Betzur Daka, can he marry a bas ger? According to Rabbi Yehuda, either Rabbi Yehuda, be'em kedushas kohen, whether a kohen who is also a Betzur Daka is considered to have maintained his kedusha, which forbids him to marry a bas ger, bein lava b'kedushas kohen, or whether or not, even if he lost his kedusha, he was sort of downgraded. He's not considered a typical kohen, and therefore may go ahead and marry a bas gerim. But in our case, loy achla, this isha cannot have his truma. You know why? We'll explain. Either way, if a kohen, despite the fact that he is a Betzur Daka, is considered to be on the highest level of kedusha and may not get involved with a ger, loy achla. So certainly in this case, she cannot have his truma. He has no business being with her. The Amar Mar, as we learned, bas ger zachar, a daughter of a father who is a ger, may not marry a kohen. Kivas chalal zachar. It's as though she's a daughter of a fellow who's a chalal, who's an offspring of a Isser Kahuna. In any case, this bas ger zachar, may not marry a kohen. That's it. So this kohen, notwithstanding the fact that he's a Betzur Daka, is still a kohen, is still kaddish. He was not downgraded in any way. He has no business marrying the bas gerim. That's one aspect. On the other hand, if you'll tell me that a kohen who is a Betzur Daka is considered to have been downgraded and lost some of his kedusha, which would typically, theoretically, allow him to marry a bas gerim, but in this case, where he's a Betzur Daka, so skip the kahuna aspect. Even if he's just a Yisrael, but he's a Betzur Daka, he may not marry a bas gerim, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Lo yachla, so she can't have his truma. Duha amrin on kahal gerim ikri kahal, according to Rabbi Yehuda. The ger community is no different than the regular community. A Betzur Daka may not marry a ger, or a geris, or bas ger. So bottom line is, according to me, there's no question. This marriage is awesome. And getting involved with this type of isha in this situation makes her a halala and would not allow her to have truma. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's no shy, there's no discussion. Certainly the answer is no. Vila Rabbi Yesi. Okay, so let's Let's investigate Rabbi Yesi's sheet. According to Rabbi Yesi, we want to know whether the kohen who's a Tzedakah, who's getting involved with a bas gerim, is it a valid marriage? Is it kosher? Can she have his truma? Now Rabbi Yesi disagrees with Rabbi Yehuda on both accounts that we mentioned. Just a short introduction. So Rabbi Yesi holds, number one, that a kohen may go ahead and marry a bas gerim. Okay, that's the first fact. A kohen can marry a geris, or a bas gerim. And number two, a Yisrael who's a Tzedakah can marry a ger as well, because kahal gerim lo ikri kahal. That's not considered the regular community, and the Isser of Tzedakah does not apply with a ger. Okay, so he disagrees with Rabbi Yehuda on both accounts. Therefore, says the Gemara, in our case, it's certainly okay. It's a certified marriage. It's fine. Let's go back to this kohen who became a Tzedakah. We weren't sure whether he maintains his kedusha and he's treated like a regular kohen with all the halachas and restrictions, or whether he's somewhat downgraded. Well, either way, says the Gemara, you're okay, you're safe. Whether the kohen who's a Tzedakah maintains his level of kedusha, whether he loses some of his kedusha, either way, achla, this wife can now eat his truma. Explains the Gemara why. Even if he maintains his kedusha, he's treated like a bona fide kohen. Achla, she can have his truma. You know why? Because what's wrong with her? Da Amar. Rabbi Yesi himself tells us, Af ger shenasa geyeres b'toik sher l'kahuna. A ger married a geyeres, that daughter is fine with marrying a kohen. So he holds that a regular kohen can marry a bas gerim, so that's fine. On the other hand, Ilah b'kedusha say kohen. So let's say we'll assume that he loses his kedusha because he became a Tzedakah. So we'll treat him like almost like a Yisrael. Here as well, achla, she can have his truma. You know why? Because a Tzedakah can marry a Geyeris. Da Amar, because Rabbi Yesi himself holds kahal gerim lo yikra kahal. The restriction that the Torah imposes upon a Tzedakah, lo yava Tzedakah b'kahal Hashem, does not apply to gerim. So either way, you're safe, according to Rabbi Yesi. A kohen Tzedakah can marry a bas gerim. You see, there are two different elements that we're dealing with: the kohen elements and the Tzedakah element. Either way, you're okay. On account of the kohen element, well, a kohen can marry a bas gerim. On account of the Yisrael Tzedakah element, that as well is fine with a ger. So what's your shaila? Ela liba dai tana. Oh, we found a third tana, who sort of takes a middle route here. In one aspect, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda. He holds that a kohen may not marry a bas gerim. So on that account, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda. On the other hand, he holds that a Tzedakah can marry a geyeris because kahal gerim lo ikri kol. So it's 1-on-1. Rabbi Yehuda holds in both cases it's usher. Rabbi Yesi says both cases is not an issue. Rabbi Yaakov takes that middle route, that compromise. When it comes to a kohen with a geyeris usher, when it comes to a Tzedakah Yisrael marrying a ger, that's fine. And according to him, we're going to present our shayla. Here goes. El ali b'daitana. That's not. Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov Omer. Isha bas gerim lotinas l'kuhuna. Typically, an isha born from gerim should not marry a kohen. So in this aspect, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda. A kohen cannot marry offspring of gerim. But there's one exception. Achatehi imami Yisrael. If her mother is Jewish, her father is a ger, but her mother is full-fledged Yisrael, she's mutar to a kohen. And that's the topic of discussion now. That's what we're dealing with. A kohen Tzedakah would like to marry an isha whose father is a ger but mother is Jewish, who according to Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov is mutar to a kohen. Okay? So what's the shayla now? The question is, for say it outside, the question is when she becomes mutar to a kohen, meaning this aspect of Yisrael, the fact that her mother is Yisrael, how does it benefit her? To what extent does it sort of upgrade her? Only allows her to marry a kohen, what the Gemara refers to as kashrus mitois faba. She gets kashrus, she's allowed to marry, it enables her to marry a kohen, but she's still not considered kahal Yisrael. It doesn't make her part of the conventional kahal of Yisrael. It just allows her to marry a kohen. So a kohen can marry her. And although he's a p'tur daka, but p'tur daka is only restricted from marrying a kahal. But she's not kahal. So she's mutter. Or shall we say, the fact that her mother is Jewish, that upgrades her even further. Number one, enables her to marry a kohen, which a bas gerim wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And number two, she's considered part of the kahal of Yisrael, part of the community. In which case, the fact that this kohen is also p'tur daka acts to his detriment. A p'tur daka may not get involved with kahal. That's the crux of the shaila in our sukkah. So again, Rabbi Yehuda holds, on the one hand he holds like Rabbi Yehuda, a kohen may not get involved with a bas gerim. On the other hand he holds like Rabbi Yossi, a p'tur daka may marry somebody who is not considered bona fide kahal Yisrael, like a bas gerim. Right? So knowing that, let's deal with this specific case where she is Ima mi Yisrael. She's not a regular bas gerim. Her father is a geber, the mother is mi Yisrael. She has her own status. According to Elazar ben Yaakov, she can marry a kohen. Right? So the question is, but this kohen is, on top of being a kohen, he's a p'tur daka. Is he mutter or not? And the question is as follows. The fact that her mother is mi Yisrael, that added aspect, that benefits her, how far does it go? Kashrus? Mitois faba? Does it add kashrus? It enables her to marry a kohen, but she's still not considered part of the kahal Yisrael, and therefore she can interact with this kohen. And although he's a p'tur daka, she's fine with a p'tur daka, and she can have his truma. Or shall we say, it goes way further. Kedusha mitois faba, the fact that she is a daughter of a Jewish mother, Ima mi Yisrael, that gives her kedusha as well, meaning she's part of the general community. She's part of the kahal of Yisrael. So although the kohen per se has no problem marrying her, but remember, he's also a p'tur daka, who may not get involved with kahal Yisrael, and therefore she shouldn't have his truma. That's a good shot. How do we view the added element of Ima mi Yisrael? How far does it go? It just adds kashrus or kedusha as well. To Hashma, here comes the right. Kiyasar of Acha. Rabbi Acha Chinana came the Rema from the south of Yisrael. Also, he came along the Aisi Masnisa Biyadi and brought with him a brisa as follows: Menayin lep'tur daka kohen, shenosa bas gerim, shemachila b'truma. How do we know that this is a very exact case that we discussed? A kohen p'tur daka can feed his wife truma. Shenamar v'kohen ki yikna nefesh kinyan kaspoy, and it's extra lashon nefesh to tell you yoichal boy that even in this case, truma is permissible. Lema. Now let's try to peg the brisa. Which shita are we following? Ilim Rabbi Yehuda. Is it Rabbi Yehuda's shita? Well, that doesn't work. Ha'amar, didn't he tell us bein b'kedusha say koi, whether the koi maintains his kedusha, bein la b'kedusha say koi, whether he loses some kedusha because of his p'tur daka condition, bein la b'kedusha say koi loy achla. Truma is not permitted, as we discussed. V'ila Rabbi Yossi. Well, according to Rabbi Yossi, lo malikra. Why do we need an extra pasuk? Ha'amar, he already told us. Either way, it's okay. Bein b'kedusha say koi, bein la b'kedusha say koi. Whether or not this fellow still has his kedusha, achlish can have his truma, as we discussed. Elalav. Oh, there's one last option. It must be that the brisa is according to the Rabbi Yehuda ben Yaakov, who had that in between approach, and according to him, we had a real good shaila. And the conclusion is kashrus itoisfa bava achla shmamina. From this brisa, we clearly see that the isha, whose mother is mi Yisrael, she's upgraded a bit, but not too much. She's enabled to marry a kohen. But she's not considered the kahal Yisrael to the extent that a p'tur daka cannot involve himself with her. Okay, let's just summarize this bit of complicated piece of Gemara. We had a shaila regarding a kohen who's a p'tur daka, who's getting involved with a bas gerim. Is it okay? Is it acceptable? Can he feed her teruma? We have 3 shittas. Rabbi Yehuda takes a stringent view when it comes to a kohen marrying a bas ger, that's aser. When it comes to a tzudaka marrying a ger, that's also aser. A ger is considered kahal Yisrael. According to him, there's no question. In this case, there's no truma allowed, because whichever way we look at this kohen, on account of his kahuna element, he shouldn't be getting involved with a bas gerim. On account of his tzudaka element, there as well, he should not be getting involved with a bas gerim. There's no question it's us. According to Rabbi Yossi, there's no question it's mutter. On account of the kahuna aspect, a bas ger is perfectly legal. On account of the tzudaka aspect, there again, tzudaka can get involved with ger. That's not called kal Yisrael. There's no question that it's mutter. The question applies to Rabbi ben Yaakov, who on one hand holds like Rabbi Yehuda. Generally, a kohen should not get involved with a descendant of ger. On the other hand, like Rabbi Yossi, that a tzudaka may marry a ger. It's not called Kal Yisrael. We're dealing with a very unique case where Imam Yisrael, she's a bas ger, but her mother is Yisrael. In this case, Rabbi ben Yaakov holds differently than Rabbi Yehuda. He holds that she's Jewish enough, she's Imam Yisrael, and therefore that aspect, that added element, allows her to marry a kohen. The question just was whether she goes to the point, she's been upgraded to the point that she's kahal Yisrael, which disallows a tzudaka from involving himself with her. The maskana was based on a brisa. There's no concern, because although she's allowed to marry a kohen, she's still not considered bona fide kahal Yisrael, in which case a tzudaka can marry her, and therefore a kohen tzudaka can feed her truma. Continues the Gemara, Itmar, Rav Omar, Yesh Chuppah Lipsuas. So according to some Mefarshim, the Gemara here will be working with the precept that chuppah, by the way, doesn't just mean the canopy. Rambam learns it means bringing the future wife into one's home and into one's domain, into his possession, so to speak, and in anticipation of interacting physically. So the chuppah concept here is it's like a prelude to marriage. It's like it's the entry into marriage. Okay, so according to some shittis, according to some Mefarshim, our Gemara here is based on the concept that chuppah has the power to be kohen, which is actually a discussion in the Gemara in Kedushin is shittis Rav Huna. According to other shittis, our Gemara is simply referring back to the like the case in the Mishnah where we discussed an isha who's sort of awaiting marriage. She's anticipating bia with a puzzle. And according to Tanakama, that in itself, that limbo state, so to speak, this allows her from achilas truma. Let's say she was a daughter of a kohen, she may not eat truma, and that's the topic of discussion in our sugya. So either way, the point is really pretty much the same. The question is whether the chuppah process affects the isha. How much does it affect her? Itmar, Rav Omar, Yesh Chuppah L'Psulis. Let's go to Rashi on top. Yesh Chuppah L'Psulis. For example, Kohen Gadol Shehichnes Almana. Bas Kohen L'Chuppah. Here's a Kohen Gadol who's getting involved with an Almana, who happens to be a daughter of a Kohen, who was eating Truma until this point. V'loi Bo'aleh, they did not interact physically yet. It was just a Chuppah. The question is, how far does Chuppah go? How does it affect this Isha? Umi Yikar Nami Like Kitchu, not even speaking with a Kedushin. It was just a plain Chuppah. Afilu hachet pasla mitruma debei nasha. Here comes a chiddush. This chuppah / marriage can go ahead and affect the isha. It taints her. It affects her. She must stop eating truma that she was eating up until this point. The chuppah, says Rashi, ki knisas biladami. We treat chuppah as though they interacted physically, because chuppah is sort of leading into that, bringing her in, b'miyachad her. We treat it as though there was a bia between them, and therefore she's considered puzzle from truma. A chiddush of Rav. U'shmuel Amar no, ein chuppah l'psulis. No, chuppah doesn't have that much value, doesn't carry that much weight. Just a plain chuppah, although it's leading into bi'ila, but it still hasn't happened, and therefore it does not affect the isha. She can continue eating her truma that she was eating up until this point. Omar Shmuel umoideli Abba. Abba was a honorable reference to Rav. Rashi says because he was older than Shmuel. So Rav would agree to me, certainly in the following case, it doesn't affect her. Betinoik is pchusim b'sholish shana b'yamechad. You have a youngster. A tanoikis who is less than 3 years and a day old. Certainly in that case, the chuppah would not affect her whatsoever. You know why? Hoyel ve'en la bia. Halachically, there's no masa bia pertaining to this isha, and therefore ain't la chuppah. The whole point of chuppah, because it's linked to bia, in this case, no bia, no chuppah. Amarava, afanana mitanina. I'll prove this point from the following Mishnah. That underage is not considered a bia, therefore certainly it's not considered a chuppah. Mishnah says, Bashal, Ishana Mechad. Once she's 3 in a day, Miskadesh is a bia. Condition through bia is valid. Yavam kana. If she's a Yevama, the Yibam is valid. Suppose her father was Mekadesh to her man and somebody else got involved. She's an Eses Ish. Umatama is Boila. Suppose she's a Nida and she interacts with a man. That fellow is affected by her state to the point that he gets her Tumah. But somewhat lighter than her. You see, by the Nida herself, whatever she's sitting and lying on, that becomes Tumah. Even if it's 10 mattresses one on top of the other, they're all considered Midras Hazah, Hanida, they're like Av HaTumah, the highest form of Tumah. But this Bayel who's involved with the Nida, he gets, to a certain extent, he gets her Tumah, but not to the point that it's going to be Matame. What's way beneath him, to the extent that it becomes an Av HaTumah. It's only Matame Mishkav Tachtain Ke'elyan. Meaning, let's say he's lying on 10 mattresses, the mattress that's not coming in direct contact with this fellow, becomes Tameh, but only like an Av HaTumah, like Ke'elyan, as though something is touching him from on top, which also becomes an Av HaTumah. In any case, this Isha, who's a Nida, despite her young age, she's just 3 and a bit, can have this effect on the Boil, because again, it's considered a valid physical interaction. This is L'koyin. If she marries a koyin, Achelas b'truma, she can have his truma. Ba'ala echad mikol psulim. Suppose all of these psulim, like a halal, a mamzer, get involved with this Isha, pasla. He makes her pasla from marrying a koyin or eating truma. Bottom line is, this bia is valid and has all sorts of ramifications. That's the Mishnah. We derive from here. Only if she's 3 and a bit, in which case the bia can affect her. Likewise, if she was involved with a chuppah with this fellow, it makes her possible because chuppah and bia are synonymous. But if she's younger than that, she cannot be affected through bia. It has no value whatsoever. Certainly in this case of chuppah, that's a solid raya. That chuppah, it depends, it hinges on bia, and if there's no bia applicable, she's underage. Chuppah as well. Rashi says certainly a kolshkein chuppah, which is less than bia, which is only leading into bia, which is a catalyst to bia, will not affect the isha whatsoever. So bottom line is, if she's underage, certainly the chuppah doesn't affect her. But otherwise, an adult isha who's getting involved with a man that she should not be getting involved with, a monata kain gadol. What happens to her achila? To the achila's truma status? Rab says she's possible. Chuppah and bia synonymous. Shmuel says no. We haven't gotten to bia yet. Chuppah on its own does not have that power to affect the isha and annul her achilas truma abilities. Okay, let's do a quick chazar of today's daf. We went back to the halach in the Mishnah. An isha who's awaiting a bias puzzle, can she still have truma? Rabbi Meir says no. Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Shimon say yes. And the Gemara compared it to a case of a kohen who's a psua daka. We assume it's the same halacha. He was Mekadesh Yisrael, Abbas Yisrael. She wants to have his truma. The Gemara assumed the same achlek is applied in the Mishnah applies here as well. Although the Gemara did seem to find some sort of distinction that a kohen tzudaka never has the ability to feed, but we did find, Rabbi found an example, Abai found an example of cases that even a kohen tzudaka has the ability to feed, and therefore the comparison to the halach in the Mishnah still holds true. we discussed an interesting shaila of a kohen who is a Petzuah Zaka, who actually goes ahead and marries a Bas Gerim. The Gemara concludes that the shaila only pertains in a very specific case, when her mother is Yisrael, and according to Elazar and Yaakov, and the question is whether this added facet of Ima Yisrael gives her just kashrus, or adds kedusha as well, in which case she may not get involved with a Petzuah Zaka who is not allowed to be marrying somebody from Kahal Hashem. And the maskana was, no, all she gets is kashrus. It enables marriage with a kohen, but does not deem her Kahal Yisrael, in which case a kohen who's a Petzuah Zaka can get involved with her and actually feed her truma. We concluded with an interesting machlokes regarding a psula who went through chuppah, whether or not it affects her truma status. Machlokes Rabbi Shmuel by Iktana Pchusim Bas Gimel. Certainly the chuppah has no value at all because hoyel ve'ein lo bia. All the best to you and hatzlacha Rabba.